You're going to love what Ryan Day had to say about what he believes Carnell Tate can be in a Buckeye uniform.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to a feel-good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Here on Friday, August 2nd in the year 2024. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. As playoffs wind down, the sports stop sporting like I want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Ohio State wide receiver room this year is special. The top of that thing, every school in the country would love to have two of the top four guys in Ohio State's wide receiver room. When you think about the top four guys this year, yes, the bottom three are inexperienced, but we believe that four-headed monster with Egbuka and Smith and Tate and Ennis will be a team that a group that opposing defenses cannot stop. And one of the four that I just mentioned is Carnell Tate. And Ryan Day did not hold back and made a big, bold statement about what he believes Carnell Tate can be in a Buckeye uniform. Here's what they had to say about the talented young wide receiver. Quote, "The limit for Carnell is through the roof. I don't think there's a limit to what he can be. He's not someone you typically hear, but you can feel out there," end quote. And for Ryan Day to make that statement about a young receiver, guy that really hasn't played, hasn't had a chance to play multiple years at Ohio State, has not started a game in a Buckeye uniform, and he's making this bold statement about him right now, it makes me pay more attention to what I think he might be. I know my expectations for a lot of these guys. I'm going to dive into those over the next few weeks leading into week one of the season. But Ryan Day might be onto something. The limit for Carnell is through the roof. You don't just say that and just throw it out there in thin air and say, "Oh, I hope it sticks. I'm going to make this big statement, and if it sticks, great. If it does not, well, they're going to forget I said it." No, especially at Ohio State with how many media members and shows and articles that are going to be written about the things Ryan Day says and the Ohio State team this year. You can't just make these kinds of statements and just, "Oh, I'm just going to make it." No. Ryan Day understands something about what it takes to be an elite wide receiver in college football. Think about the guys that Ryan Day's been able to coach since he started coaching at Ohio State as the head coach. You got Garrett Wilson. You got Chris Olave. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba. You got Jamison Williams as well. Let's not forget that too. He had Jamison Williams on there. You got Marvin Harrison Jr. You got Emeka Egbuka. The young guys here that Ryan Day's had for a year already are Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis. Then you throw in Jeremiah Smith. Then you got some young guys here in Bryson Rogers. Look, some of these guys are inexperienced. Some of these guys have not played in a Buckeye uniform. Some of these guys have played a little bit. But Ryan Day's been able to see a lot of really good, elite, talented wide receivers during his time as head coach just during that period at Ohio State. And with that in mind, I think Ryan Day knows a thing or two about, hey, I know when I see a guy that's elite at a position, may it be quarterback, maybe receiver, maybe running back, maybe D tackle. Ryan Day knows a thing or two about, hey, once I figure out what elite is at that position, I can look at a guy down the road and say, oh, that guy's elite. Why? What are you comparing it to? What's your checklist? And he can pull that out and say, hey, throughout my tenure coaching in college, this is how we describe an elite fill in the blank position. And this guy's kind of got it. And the way that Ryan Day's talking about Carnell Tate right now, he is saying he's not kind of got it. He's got it. He has that it factor. Because when a coach says, hey, we don't really hear you out there, but we feel you and you're a receiver, I can see him saying, hey, we feel you and you are a linebacker, but you're thumping every day. You're busting heads every day. Receivers don't do that. Now they got to block. Trust me. I know they're going to be putting an extra emphasis on blocking because Chip Kelly knows you got to have the receivers block at a certain rate if you want the run game to be as successful as you want it to be. So, yes, we know he's going to be blocking a little bit, but also keep this in mind. If you feel him, he's doing some things that make you stop, make you pause, make you wonder, how did he make that thing happen? And Carnell Tate's doing that. Add in the fact that Ryan Day also added in about his route running and said that's what stands out about him. When that's what stands out about you and you are a young receiver, everything that's going to happen on the field that maybe you don't stand out with right now in practice may come a little bit easier, because if you got your route running down, if you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's in every time every rep when you are a receiver that's running routes, that's an opposing defense's kryptonite, worst nightmare, because they know, hey, he may have good hands but not be able to run routes. He may be able to run routes, but he might not have good hands. He might have those two things, but he don't really understand situational play call, situational things, the intangibles of the game. Doesn't have his head on straight. He might have some of these things, but then lack some others. If you got route running, and from what I've been told and heard about Carnell Tate, he has his head on straight. He's a very good young man. He is someone that you want representing Ohio State football. And if those things are true, look, Carnell Tate's going to have a fun time playing Buckeye football this year. But also think about this when it comes to Carnell Tate. In any given year, Carnell Tate could go to any other school, and even he could be the number one receiver any year and say, hey, okay, cool. I can play slot. I can play outside, where you want me to be. Oh, outside, cool. I'll be your number one receiver. Make me the X. Let's go out there and let's cook a little bit. Well, Carnell Tate also realizes at Ohio State, he's not the number one receiver. Not this year, and probably not next year, because Jeremiah Smith is just that good. But what's he going to do? He's going to be a team player. He is going to realize and understand that, hey, I know what happened in high school. I know what my role was there. I know how I made a name for myself. This is a different level. This is the Ohio State University. They have their own way of doing things. And also, I need to be a team player. I got to understand, I just can't look at myself and rely on myself and say, hey, look, I know there's other talented guys out there, but me looking at myself, let's go ahead and disregard the message the coach is preaching right now to have us come together, to have us be the best unit we could be. No, let's forget that. Let us be all about me. You can't do that. Not at all. That is a cancer to a locker room. When a guy is refusing, I'm not saying he is, but if a guy is refusing at any position to not be a team player and to not work as a team, that is a literal cancer inside a locker room. And you can always just kiss all the Buckeyes' wishes of winning a national championship goodbye if the numerous cancers pop up throughout the season this year. Yeah, they could overcome them. But, man, that's also a recipe for disaster. Ryan Day made a bold statement about Carnell Tate, and it makes me think about one thing. That number 17, I cannot wait to see that young man play the football this year in the scarlet and gray and the shoe. Hey, do big things in Austin Stadium. Do big things in Beaver Stadium. Do big things against Michigan. And what are we going to do? Talk about those performances for the next 20 to 30 to 40 years, because those are the types of matchups where you make a name for yourself. And if the ceiling is literally through the roof, then bust through that roof when the Buckeyes play the Ducks. Buckeyes play the Nittany Lions, the Wolverines, and anybody else who the Buckeyes happen to play this year in 2024. Carnell Tate's going to play. We're not sure who the starting quarterback is going to be, but Ryan Day gave us a little peek inside his thoughts right now about the Buckeye quarterback position yesterday after day one of fall camp. This episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible bottoms only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. If you would like to become a Locked On Buckeyes insider, send a text to 614-587-7853. Once again, that's 614-587-7853, and you will get Ohio State football news sent right to your phone. We all want to know who Ohio State's quarterback is going to be this year. Is it going to be Will Howard? Will it be Devin Brown? I think over the next couple of weeks, Ryan Day will really fine-tune and finalize things going on with the quarterback position. Will he make an announcement by that time? Or will it be later during fall camp? Or will it be during fall camp at all? We're not really sure. But when Ryan Day made a certain statement about his thoughts about the QB competition right now, I think it just gave us a little bit of glimpse into what we hope Ryan Day might do this year in regards to when he'll name a starting quarterback. Quote, ideally, we'd like to have someone as a starter and go into the season with that, end quote. He also said he didn't feel like it happened last year at the beginning of the season, but did after the Notre Dame game. Little nugget about that Notre Dame game. That was not the first game or second game. I don't believe it was even the third game. I believe that was the fourth game of the season, the third non-conference game. And I think there was a bye week after that game because it was Indiana week 1. I believe there was 2 cupcakes. And then there was the Notre Dame game. And the big thing about this, if you learned after that game, Ryan Day announced the starting quarterback after week 2. So maybe in his mind last year, even after announcing it, he had the thought, maybe we might have to go to Devin Brown because Kyle McCord might not be getting the job done. Get the thing done during fall camp. Like Ryan Day said, ideally, I think it's a good word to use, kind of a coach speak. Ideally, we'd like to do this. Get it done. All offseason, all fall camp. Fall camp so far in a few more weeks. Spring practice, winter workouts throughout the summer. Get that thing done. Are they truly that close? Is the battle truly that intense? Is the battle so close that you might have to go a little bit into the season like you did last year when everybody and their mama knew that was not a good decision to make, but you did it anyway, and you were very fortunate that last year's non-conference schedule and even that game against Indiana, those were lesser opponents. Also, the Hoosiers this year probably going to be a better team than you would expect. Probably will win a bowl. Their defense was decent under Tom Allen, maybe a better than the decent at times. I think that team's going to be better than advertised, better than you think. And so Ohio State may have to play a whole lot harder and play their starters longer in that game than they might want to. Don't let this thing go into the regular season. Absolutely not. Ohio State, Ryan Day, no matter if it's Will Howard, Devin Brown, or Julian Sand, one of those 3 guys, I don't believe Keen Holtz or Aaron Noland are in the mix right now to be QB1 this year, which is not a problem at all. And if it was Julian Sand, it's not a problem. I mean, it may be a problem. We'll be talking about some very specific things about these young men this year, but I don't think it's an overall problem if you start a true freshman. There is just going to be a big learning curve, a lot of questions, a lot of intense film study sessions. Why? He ain't never done this before. Nah. I say never. He ain't never put on a Buckeye uniform on a Saturday in the fall. He ain't never done that. It's a little bit different. It's not for the faint of heart. Ohio State being the starting quarterback at Ohio State, it doesn't get much better than that. So no, I'm not saying Julian saying if he earns the job that he's going to fail. I'm not saying that at all. But look, it's tough, man. Akron, Western Michigan, Marshall, those 3 are cupcakes, but you're going up against seasoned secondaries and seasoned defenses and opposing defensive coordinators that all they want to do is just embarrass you. Why? 1, it's their job, but also 2, you're a newcomer. You haven't proven yourself yet, and those defensive coordinators don't want you to prove yourself against them. Just pick the thing out during fall camp, man. Trust me. It if there's a migraine or a headache that Ryan Day or any of the coaches get while thinking about this, hey, naming a quarterback might relieve it for a little bit, but then the anxiety might go back up. Why? Because now you got to roll with it. Now you got to see, hey, did I make the right decision? Now you got to figure out, am I doing the right thing? There are so many different angles to this, but Ryan Day, ideally, I'm with you, Ryan Day. I'm with you. You know that saying, I'm with you when you're right. I don't normally say that at all because it makes me sound like somebody that, hey, I might turn my back on you when you're wrong. That doesn't really sit well with me. But yeah, Ryan Day, I'm not only with you when you're right, I'm with you when you're wrong. Like, as far as like, hey, here's how things can improve. Some people are I'm with you when you're right kind of people. And Ryan Day, he's right. So I would feel if you're a part of that camp, you would say, oh yeah, Ryan Day, I'm with you right now because you're right. Ideally, you would like to have someone as a starter and go into the season with that, with the decision you make. Go earn it, somebody. Will Howard, Julian Sand, Devin Brown, go earn the job. Just go do it. Go take it away from everybody else and prove you are maybe not head and shoulders, but your head is starting to emerge above the other two quarterbacks and say, look, I know y'all are trying to battle with me to start this thing, but y'all got another thing coming. Y'all got another thing coming your way, and this is going to be my job to win. Nobody else's. This is not meant to harm the brotherhood. No, this is competition. This is the competitive nature that Ohio State needs for a starting quarterback. That can come up and that can emerge during fall camp as the Buckeyes are preparing for what should be a special season. Will Howard, for him to not win this job, let's just say he does not win the job, and the Buckeyes end up saying, hey, we want to pick a quarterback and go into the season with that, but it's not Will Howard. Maybe it's one of the other four quarterbacks. That would be so hard. Such a tough pill to swallow because Will Howard came here to start. You're not a multi-year starter in a big-time conference. You leave that school and then come to Ohio State and just do it just out of the whim and say, oh, well, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go to Ohio State. Not a guy of his caliber. Not a guy that's already won a conference championship. Not a guy that beat TCU in a year where they were the national runner-up eventually after that Big 12 conference championship game. He came here to start. But you got to earn it. I've been saying it all week. We're going to be seeing this throughout fall camp as well until somebody is named QB1. You must go out there and earn the title QB1 in Columbus. Because if not, if you don't go out there and earn it and it's given to you, it may inflate your head more than it's going to. And also, it's not really the right process to me. It's not the right process to decide who the right option is to be the starting quarterback at Ohio State. Ryan Day, thank you for the insight on who you on the quarterback situation and stuff going on in your mind about the QB battle. I would love to have somebody picked by the start of the season as well. Pick a name, somebody emerge, somebody win it, and roll with it. Go ahead, move past it, roll with it. And I hope Ryan Day this year does not do a 2-quarterback system or go back and forth with his decision, because I don't think that would be the right move. Not only did we hear about the quarterbacks and about Carnell Tate, we've also got to witness some other things during the Buckeyes' first practice of fall camp. We'll dive into that next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and the sports aren't sporting like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. This episode is brought to you by Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus has the best selection of pool tables, game tables, shuffleboard tables, and more. And the best service in Central Ohio. Everything you need for in-home and even backyard entertainment is at Billiards Plus. Billiards Plus carries the best pool tables from Brunswick, Ahoston, Canada, billiards, and more. And the grills, whether you like charcoal or gas or wood-fired, Billiards Plus has the perfect setup for all grillers. They are family owned and operated. And when you talk to the staff at Billiards Plus, you know you talk to an expert who won't steer you wrong. No matter the season, Billiards Plus has you covered for all your indoor and outdoor entertainment needs. Kenny, Sarah, and the whole staff will always go above and beyond to give you the best customer service in the industry. Billiards Plus, visit the showroom or Double Center Drive in Dublin. Thank you for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen every day. If you like to become a Locked On Buckeyes insider, send a text to 614-587-7853, and you will get Ohio State football news sent right to your phone. Fall camp, man, it is so exciting. I love any time we get to see the boys, Ohio State football or your favorite professional football team, prepare in August for what will be it should be a fun Ohio State season. And hopefully, maybe if you're a Browns fan, 2024 is good to the Cleveland Browns as well. Ohio State this year, they have an interesting dynamic at linebacker and on the offensive line, at tight end. Interesting dynamic all over the place. And I mentioned linebacker because everyone is wondering, and I have been wondering, where is Sonny Styles? Where is CJ Hicks? Who is starting on day one? That's not going to be, might not be who starts week one for game one, but knowing where things are right now is a great thing to know. And right now, the starter at will linebacker on day one of camp at least was Sonny Styles. Now, I really wonder how they're going to go about trying to filter in CJ Hicks into the equation. Do you do a scenario where it's Hicks and Simon and Styles is off the field? Do you do Hicks and Styles and Simon's off the field? Do you do Hicks and Simon Styles at the cover nickel corner spot and take out Jordan Hancock? That's one move I don't think should be made. I think Jordan Hancock there is a great piece of the pie and almost playing so well that you don't need and should not take him off the field. I wonder. I truly wonder. But as for right now, that's where we are. And I do think that CJ Hicks is going to play this year. I cautioned it last year based off just the lack of experience. But when you know Ohio State's going to play three linebackers, and we saw how they utilized Still Chambers, Tommy Eichenberg, and Cody Simon as well last year. Cody Simon was not someone who I thought was going to play much last year. And all of a sudden, at the end of the year, he may have been the Buckeyes' most consistent linebacker. Injuries were a factor in the inability or lack of productivity from Chambers and Eichenberg last year. But Simon's good. Simon is solid. He's also a guy who's potentially going to be the recipient of the Blanco jersey. I don't know if exactly that's going to happen, but it might. Also, didn't really get the clarity on the offensive line that we thought we were going to. The Buckeyes split up the offensive linemen, so you had two starters with one group. You had two more starters with the other group. Then we know we're going to start. Carson Hinzman was not at practice because he was ill. He would miss practice due to an illness, and so you got one offensive line yesterday because they split things up. Offense was not ones together the whole time and twos together the whole time, just kind of changing things up a little bit. Josh Simmons, Donovan Jackson, Josh Padilla, Luke Montgomery, and George Fitzpatrick. That was one offensive line. The other one, Zen Mahalski, Austin Saravel, Seth McLaughlin, Tegra Shabola, and Josh Fryer were the other one. I say that because some of you are trying to wonder and say, Jay, if it's split up, what do we know? They put two on one side, they put two on the other, and they let those offensive lines work. Got no insight, no clarity on offense on the O-line. I still think it's going to be Seth McLaughlin and Carson Hinzman starting. Who starts at center? Who starts at right guard? I think that's still to be determined, especially by the coaches. But we basically know the five that should start. How do they view Hinzman? Because last year we kept hearing, oh, Hinzman this, Hinzman that, like negative things. I don't think he played at all. I don't think he suited up against Missouri in the Cotton Bowl. I'm not sure. But we got no clarity. That's cool. Honestly, it's not a big deal. Because I remember, I think it was a few years ago, and they rolled out the 4 tackles on the offensive line. I think that happened during week 2 or maybe at the end of the first week of fall camp. So no clarity on that. Is perfectly fine. Ohio State wants to be 4 deep at running back. Okay. We know who the top 2 guys are. We know who the next 2 guys are. How do you get there without experience? So we know Judkins and Henderson are going to play. You got James Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon that are the true freshmen. Are the Buckeyes going to play automatically, no matter what, just going to play 4 running backs in the 3 non-conference games and saying, look, we need you to get up to speed, game speed, as true freshmen. Come out here and play. The caution that I would put out there, if you're just putting guys in to put them out there to get them experience, oh man, that could be a recipe for disaster. I talked about it before, about how the lights might be too bright for you, how the lights might mess up your play, mess up your flow of thoughts, might mess up a lot of things. Man, you don't want to put a guy on the field too soon. Even if it might, like if it's a need, it's a need, cool. But if you're trying to do it to build reps up and all of a sudden you realize, yeah, he ain't getting it. No, he ain't ready. It could turn around to backfire in a really bad way. The top 2 guys that were returning punts yesterday, Brandon Ennis, Emeka Egbuka, those are the first guys getting reps at the punt return. The other guys that were actually in this group as well, Carnell Tate, Jaden Ballard, Jeremiah Smith, Bryson Rogers, and Caleb Downs had 1 rep. It wouldn't shock me if he returned punts this year every single game. I'm a person. I would not shy away from making that move just because he's a starter and potentially the best player on defense. No, I would not shy away from it. If he's the guy that needs to be in that spot, put him there. Absolutely. 100% of the time, every day of the week and twice on Sunday, put him there and you'll see the results and there's a really good chance you'll like him. Gabe Powers probably will not play much this year. I'm going to run through these last little observations very quickly. Probably will not play much. If he does, it'll be a backup role, but he had several nice tackles near the line of scrimmage on day 1 of camp. So he's been grinding, man. He has been grinding, and he realizes he's not going to get on the field as quickly as he would like. He could transfer somewhere else and play right away, but he's like, no, I want to be a Buckeye. I want to be coached by Knowles and Laurinaitis and the whole defensive coaching staff. Okay, cool. Well, this is what's going to happen. He's cool with that. He's still grinding, and he is still working. Hats off to Gabe Powers. Demarion Witten was a guy who was recruited to be a tight end at Ohio State, but yesterday he ran with the wide receivers. That might be his consistent move, because when I first saw a picture, and I can't really put much stock into that being a consistent thing, but when I first saw a picture of him recently, and it may have been from the team photos that they took, the photo shoot they took of all the players in the Olympics, the one thing I saw about Demarion Witten was that boy kind of small. Like, he was skinnier than I thought or I remember when I watched him play the football, and I had seen pics previously. He didn't look like a Buckeye tight end. Like, of course, a guy transfers in from Ohio, the Bobcats, and he's Will Catch-Merrick, and he's at 260 pounds. That's not normal. He's also been in college for a while, but Ohio State has some guys, Jelani Thurman being one. Jelani Thurman comes in, and he already looks like, hey, he built for this. Carnell Tate might be built for Ohio State football, but maybe he might have to switch positions, which is okay. It's not the end of the world. And then also, last but not least, Ryan Day touched on, there's a lot of good stuff coming from yesterday from camp. Ryan Day touched on why there was no July recruiting event. He said the coaches didn't get a day off in the month of June. 30 days, at least 30 days straight. They're working. They're grinding. They're trying to put in that time on the recruiting trail to stockpile all the talent inside of Ohio State's 2025, 2026 recruiting classes and beyond. Hey, Ryan Day, hats off to you, man. Because I think the last thing that some of these new coaches need is for a coach to say, oh, football over family. Football's more important than X. Football's more important than Y. And that's the last thing a new guy needs to Ryan Day's coaching staff. And I think Ryan Day understands that he does know, not just him being a mental health advocate, him and his wife being very big on protecting your mental health. And I want to say that they donated a large chunk of money to that as well. But a lot of coaches out there kind of harp on and praise and pat themselves on the back for being guys that, hey, I slept in the office numerous times. I used to get to the office at 4 a.m. Does anybody really care? No. Nobody cares what you do as a coach until you get the results. If the results are poor, then what you do is actually going to matter. If the results are great, keep doing what you're doing. That's a lot of good stuff, man. A lot of stuff on day 1 of fall camp. We'll be tapped in here all month long, leading to the Buckeyes start week 1 game in the upcoming season. I've been waiting for the team to play for a very long time. Let's just fast forward a little bit. pick up the quarterback stuff as we go and watch the boys play on Saturday afternoons in the fall. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for Buckeye football, and I'm sure you can as well. You can follow me on X at jsteven07. We're out of here on a Thursday. Thanks for making Locked On Buckeyes your first listen of the day. Now is the perfect time to make your second listen of the day, the Locked On College Football Podcast. Spencer McLaughlin does a great job of covering college football from coast to coast. Yours truly has done numerous crossovers with Spencer talking about the Buckeyes. He's a great host, hosting that show daily. Check him out. Tap into it, especially as we get closer, an inch closer to the start of the season. You can follow me on X once again at jsteven07. We'll see you next time.